All right, so I've been using Medic for a long time. I use it as a rep. I've implemented it 3 times in my VP of sales role, and now I help B2B organizations operationalize my playbook that seemed to work pretty well, and also work with AEs in a one-to-one capacity as well to kind of coach and train them up on Medic. But what I want to talk to you today about is some of the mistakes or challenges that I see sales teams and sales reps make when using Medic out with customers in their sales conversations. I face some of them as a rep and with my teams, but I'm also seeing a lot now as more and more organizations are looking to implement Medic to run better deal cycles. So let me just kind of move myself out the way here. So kind of take you through just a couple of slides. So I've got this like one major problem that I see reps make, and then I've got some other ones that follow along. So the number one problem that I see with reps using metrics under the Medic framework is fluffy statements with no like actual and target metrics, like where are they today, where do they need to be, like the targets, that kind of stuff, right? So what I usually see is really fluffy statements like, let's say you're selling HR software. I see things like you want to increase ENPS, Employee Net Promoter Score. That's great and that's important, but to an executive, they're trying to connect the dots to big business outcomes, and they're also asking like, where are we performing today? Where are we? Where do we want to be? And what does that mean for us as a business? And if your champion in a room where you might not be present can't articulate that, then that's why deals start to stall and slip and ghost and end up in status quo, because you get like one shot with these guys, right? So you want to make sure that you're fully equipped to have that conversation. So what good would look like is the agreed use case will help us increase ENPS score from 27 points to 52 points, which will help us attract top talent, hit our company recruitment goals in 2025. So let's just assume this company is trying to grow 30% this year, whatever it might be. And to do that, they need to hire a bunch of people. To do that, they need to have great culture, make it sound like it's a great place to work, has to be genuinely a good place to work. For that to be true, we need to have good stuff going on, and that will be impacted and measured through our ENPS scores, right? So that's what kind of a good would look like. And you see a lot of reps just have like either nothing in the CRM or just like fluffy statements that mean nothing to nobody. So you want to help these executives connect the dots, right? Link it back to company goal. Okay. Now, some other mistakes that I see reps make out when they're using metrics is focusing on irrelevant metrics, right? Not that product usage and things like that is irrelevant, because if you've got high adoption, then you're more likely to get success. But we should really be focusing on metrics that are going to be attached to big business outcomes, not really, really low level ones that people don't understand or really care about. Okay, we've got to connect the dots. So focus on the right metrics. Another problem that I see is reps stacking up too many metrics. So you've got their business case or their proposal deck is like 10, 15 metrics in there. And then what happens is we go back to point number one, which is we're bleeding through too many irrelevant metrics. So focus on the right ones, don't stack too many. And then third is lack of personalization. So if you go back to this slide here, that bottom one with the tick, it's extremely unlikely I'm going to run into another company that's trying to go from 27 to 52 points in their ENPS score. Very, very rare, right? So they have to be personalized. If they're not personalized, you've got fluffy statements that no one's going to care about. Okay, so it has to be personalized to that company you're working with. Another problem or a mistake that I see reps making is not validating the metrics. We have to triangulate and socialize this stuff across the customer's organization and get consensus that this is the right thing to do. And these are the metrics and the measurements that we should be focused on if we're to implement the solution. Okay, so make sure you triangulate, socialize this stuff, and then make sure you get consensus that let's lock this in. This is what we are going to be driving and going to be accountable for delivering upon. Another thing is thinking it's going to be easy. People, when they get into Medic and using Medic, they think metrics is easy, right? And they're more concerned on like competition or paper process or whatever it might be. But metrics are really, really hard. Like when I started using Medic, it was quite hard. With some of my teams going into new personas that I'd never sold to before was really challenging. So that's why like really properly understanding your persona, mapping back products and capability to those metrics to talk through, positive outcomes with executives and things like that is really, really important. Also, another problem that I see is a lot of reps assume that customers know which metrics are suffering, which is why that last piece I mentioned around really good understanding about personas is really helpful because sometimes we can lead the witness. There's two kind of things here with this last point is customers might not have properly kind of documented or quantified the impact this problem's having. They just know this problem exists. It's slowing them down, that kind of stuff. And that's where, as sellers, we need to influence and we need to educate the customer on what metrics are probably being impacted, where they're actually suffering, and then get them to go away and bring data to that conversation and start to quantify what that value could look like, where it really needs to be. And we can then wrap a solution back to that and put it into our business case. The other thing is if there's lack of impacted metrics, like there's no metrics that are really suffering and you're speaking to the right person, etc., and you've done really good discovery, that tells you that that problem probably isn't burning right now. That doesn't mean we walk away. We want to try and implicate it, use cost of inaction, do all of these great techniques that we know of to make them feel the pain and start to quantify what that could be in 2 quarters or whatever. But if the customer's saying, hey, I've got this little problem, but it's not really impacting our business, they start using like non-committal language like it's okay or it's good enough or it gets the job done or, we'll think about it or we'll come back to that kind of stuff. That probably tells you that problem isn't creating like a hair on fire moment, because if it was, they would know that problem's impacting them because they'd be, struggling to have one-on-ones, going into a board meeting and not providing the right updates, or they'd be having tough conversations with executives, that kind of stuff, right? So it's another good way of us qualifying and temperature testing and using MEDDPICC as a GPS, which for me is what it's intended to do. Where are we strong? Where are we weak? Should we walk away? Should we double down? Where do we need to improve to give ourselves the best chance of winning this deal? If you're a B2B sales leader watching this and you want to look at a training and reinforcement program that's bespoke built for your business to help you operationalize MEDDPICC and make sure it sticks with high knowledge retention, drop me a message. If you're an AE and you don't get any training at your company and you want some coaching and some training, also reach out. I'll put a link in the description to my LinkedIn profile. Feel free to connect, send me a message, and we can get you set up with some training and some coaching as well. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, these are a lot of the mistakes that I made and what I see a lot in the market right now. So hopefully it will help you avoid some of these, course correct, and win more deals.